Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So I asked this question of you. How many times do you say this? I've got to go to the store and get stuff for dinner tonight. I've got to go to work. I've got to go pick up the kids. Imagine if you flip that around to, I get to go to the store and pick up food for dinner. I get to pick up the kids. I get to go to work. The got to life, the get to life, the differences and how it can make a huge difference in your life is what we're going to talk about today with somebody who is an amazing counselor for marriage, communication. He works with couples all the time, individuals moving their life forward. He is Paul Zohav, and he's back with us. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Enjoying sunny southern Arizona, which is weather is, coming back to what we're a good time of year to be here.
It's on my radar. I was actually not even kidding. Last week, looking at a map, thinking, where could I go? I was looking at Arizona. There's many, many beautiful things to see in Arizona. So for sure, it's on my list.
It's called the Grand Canyon State for a real reason.
For sure. And that's more than just the Grand Canyon, although never been there. That would be my first stop. But I get to consider that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we reframe all of this. We get to go on vacation. It's funny. When you never hear anybody say, I've got to go on vacation.
It's true. Just, if you listen, if we had an imaginary preset radio stations in our heads somewheres, and one preset is, I have to, I need to, I should, I ought to, and must. Because if you listen to country western, you hear Garth Brooks, Travis Tritt. If you tune your radio to NPR, you get news. So I invite us to imagine a brand new radio station, a preset on our dashboard of life. And that's have to, need to, should, ought to, and must, I have got to. And when we focus our noticer, that which notices our general sense of mutual awareness, the world gets a really noisy place because it's everywhere. In politics, Republicans need to, Democrats have to. As a nation, we should. Or perhaps you're in your family, well, I have to go shopping. I need to go to work. We have to get up and get out. If you can hear the vibe there, it's a vibe of a life given by obligation. It's a life given by the circumstances of your life direct you and your living, because you have to, you need to, you should, we ought to, and I must. And this has an enormous impact on the quality of our life. If you have to go to work, that means about 10% of you is not at work. And you arrive at work incompletely there. So you're only 90% effective. And that's being generous. You may not like the people you work with or the job you have, but if you have to go to work, well, it's harder to get out the door in the morning. You don't enjoy your breakfast as much, and you arrive not completely present. So we're talking about performance at work. And then you can sort performance in your marriage. Well, I have to go shopping is very different than I get to go shopping. I have to get my children up is very different from I get to get my children up. And all we did was swap an O for an E. I want to think about that. Between a got to and a get to life, there's an O and an E. And by switching a letter of the alphabet, we completely transform our lives. So one of the things I invite people to listen to is like, how do you say have to, need to, should, ought to, and must to yourself? I have to go to work. To your spouse, you have to go shopping. To our children, you have to do your homework. How often do we use have to, need to, short to, must in our lives? And if we pay attention to the world out there, we'll find that I would assert that the majority of us live lives of obligation, not opportunity. Why do you have to? Or else. That's the other piece. If you can hear an or else, spoken or unspoken, an or else means there's a threat. I have to go to work, I have to go to work, or else. I need to go shopping, or else. I have to discipline my children, or else. you can hear nor else. You can pretty much get that you're a passenger in life, watching the scenery as it goes by, and then one day you die. I don't want to put it quite so bluntly as that, but if you live a passenger's life, it lasts as long as it does, and then you die. And yet, look how easy it is to switch a life of obligation and circumstances driven to a life given by opportunity and possibility. And all we get to do, and I did mention the word get to do, is swap an over an E. And then you get to be the driver. You get to change your mind just because you want to. You get to embrace possibility and opportunity, and you have choice. A life of a got-to life has none of these things. In a got-to life, you have no choice. You have to. There's no possibility. What the heck is that? So when we swap an O for an E, you have a get-to life. And by the way, in the realm of parenting, children are born more or less optimistic. I get to go up and play with my friends. I get to have breakfast and have fun. And then somewhere by the around age of 10 or sooner, we turn their optimism into have to, need to, should, ought to, and must. And as parents, you might notice that if you use opportunity-given language to a child, they're more likely to say yes. You get to get up so we can have breakfast together and go out to see grandma. That'll more likely get a parent a yes. Let's get out of here and let's go. Then we have to get dressed. You have to brush your teeth so we can have breakfast, and we have to go to see your grandma. The difference is pretty striking. When you talk to a child with get to language, you get to have children who say yes. Not always, doesn't always work. But if you speak opportunity language, because to a child, life is an opportunity, not an obligation. Children are not born passengers in life, at least not in this culture.
Now,
So,
Paul, how do you address this? Somebody says, all right, well, great. I'm going to change my mindset.
Hmm?
The reality is work needs to be done.
Gets to be done.
I'm trying to change this up here. I get what you're saying. I understand it fully. And I agree. But for those that try to look at it in a different way, there's work.
Hmm?
There's this responsibility here. There's this responsibility here. There's this responsibility here. It needs to be fit in during the day. It's a lot of things that need to get fit in. How can somebody change their mindset? It's there. All these things need to be performed. We can't get around it.
Well,
And
just tell me what you just said. Switch what you just said to me, the last three sentences, into get to language. There's things that get to be done, not need to be done, get to be done, get to be fit into our schedule. So just repeat the things you just said, only use get to language and see how it feels.
I understand 100%, but they do need to get done.
Mm-hmm.
It's not optional. That's where I'm going. It's not optional. And if we look at it as you get to, I totally understand it. But aren't you still, many could say, I'm still a passenger because these things have to be performed or they get to be performed. But you're not taking them. There's no way they can be removed from your list of things to do in a day.
Well, do you have a say in your life, or don't you? You get to, you work for a job X, your manager says X, and you could complain till the cows come home, but you get to do the job, or you get to find another job, and again, based upon what I said earlier about performance, if you're only 90% present, and that's really generous for many of us, that missing percent reduces the quality of your results. A initiative, a paper written, a project initiated for company X, because you have to, inevitably will experience performance issues. And you can have the same circumstances, but now you get to address how you use them. Do they have you? Do you have them? And you
Hmm.
may not like it. You may be, oh, this is a terrible idea. I don't agree with this idea at all. And since you're working for company X or a member of family Y or a member of the congregation of X, we get to change our minds and move on to another job. It is very damaging to surrender the control over your life to an obligation, a circumstance. Who's in charge of your life? Have to or get to?
Now,
Okay.
if we reframe it to the get to, that mindset that now I'm in charge, I'm looking at it in a different way. How does that benefit us in terms of our feeling, our mindset, all of that?
Really, just in the book I am about to publish, I'll mention that later, there's a whole practice sheet where you get to write down all your have to, need to, should, oughts, and musts. And the next column, just switch them to get tos, just for the sheer opportunity and the learning opportunity of that. Um, but I get to life, I have to, life is depressing. You wake up, I have to. I get to, you know. Um,
You know what I feel? It comes from a place of gratitude. So let's look at this. Let's pick some tasks that are going to be performed, right? And we look at them this way. When it comes to work, you get to go to work. Now it comes from a place of gratitude. You get to go to work because you have gratitude for having a job that can support you to buy the things that you need. Kids got to be picked up from school. Instead of saying, oh, I got to go pick up the kids. Yeah, I'll be right back. Yeah, I get to go pick up the kids from school. From a gratitude angle, you're you have gratitude because they take place in after school activities. They have the ability to. There's many children that can't and are, and let's say they're in wheelchairs. Um, that's another plus. Oh, yeah, I have to go to the store and pick up stuff for dinner tonight. Then you flip it around. I get to go to the store, place of gratitude again. I have the money to buy things to support my family with a healthy meal that they will enjoy. So now that I'm looking at this, I think it really does come from a place. Yeah, it's gratitude. You're expressing gratitude.
if you're spiritually inclined, one of the first prayers some religions say, I'm grateful to you for returning my soul to me so faithfully. Great is your loyalty and joy and generosity. The first thought for some people, when they are their prayerful kind, they just thank people. Hey, I'm back. Wow. You know, gratitude is the flavor of the moment when you open your eyes. It's when you heal from a disease. I mean, you could have a gracious, gratitude given life or an obligation life. The vast difference, if we have to get out of here, is get very distinct from we get to get out of here. Which one will get you out the window, out the door faster if you have to go or if you get to go?
Hmm. Yeah. And it's been said before by many that even just expressing gratitude first thing in the morning and writing three things down
Mm-hmm.
can really start moving your life forward.
Well, considering also parenting, the child says, do I have to do my homework? I'm sure you and I have said that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And the parent now, a get to parent says, well, you know, I can't erase the homework. That's the assignment. That's what's so. But you, beloved child, have a choice. If you have to do your homework, it takes longer. You might do the minimum amount to fulfill the assignment. You will learn less, and your grades will be C's and D's or worse. If, however, beloved child, you get to do your homework, chances are you'll get to it sooner. You'll get more out of the experience. You will learn more, and your grades will be B's and A's. So I can't disappear the homework. It is completely 100% up to you, beloved child, which way you go. Have to do homework? You
Mm.
get to do homework. Like there's even an old joke um, where his man says to his wife, "I hate Sunday school. The kids don't like me." And she says, "But you're the principal." Um, got to. It's a world of difference in two vowels.
Mm.
And parents are now because do I have to clear the dishes? Do I have to do the homework? No. In our family, we can say this. You can just take it on as a family practice. There is nothing you have to do in this family. Everything that you get to do as a member of this family. Think about this. Teenagers, they're busy finding themselves independence and self-actuating themselves. And you say, listen, we are a community as well as a family. We get to do the dishes. We get to clean our rooms. We get to go to work. We get to wash the cars. So in our family, from now on, we can try this out. We don't have to do anything here. We get to do everything here because we are a family and we are a community.
Mm. I can truly see this benefiting the entire family once you adopt the mindset, and especially with your kids, because they're easier. They're not as jaded as we are as adults. It's easier to make them feel that, yes, this is a plus, that your homework is not a negative. It's a positive. You get to do homework. What does
Yeah.
that enable you to do from a perspective of gratitude? It enables you to learn more so that you can graduate even stronger down the road. All of that. When you put all those pieces together, it's a big deal.
Do we have to pick up your toys before dinner? No, you don't have to. You get to. We get to go to dinner with the toys picked up. Do I have to do laundry? Yes. You know, you get to do your laundry. You get to clean your room. You get to
Mm.
be polite. You get to apologize. I mean, some couples come to me because they have to, or else they'll be in divorce. You know, and usually if divorce is midnight, they show up at around 11:30 p.m. But because they have to. My search engine optimization is pretty good because the difference between them picking up the phone or not belongs to this have to get to. I have to. And she says, if we don't change, we're getting divorced. Well, then they come in the door with a have to marriage. And by the time they get out to the first session, they have a get to marriage. They get to know their love languages. They get to know the personality types. They get to the skills, insights, and best practices for a marriage of mutual honor and respect that will grow to last their lifetime, perhaps beyond. I
So I want to,
have to couples become get to couples. Then they get to come back.
and we talk about divorce here. Um, I want to press just a momentary pause button here on the Got to the Get To. There's a conversation that came up among some people over the weekend, and one of them heard that, and I'm looking for your opinion on this. It involves divorce, and I know that you deal very much so in marriage and communication. It's the belief of some people in this group that, short of abuse, you should never get divorced until the kids are at least 18. You made a commitment. You made it. I'm just sharing this. I'm curious what you say.
I get it. There's an old joke where a 90-year-old couple goes to a marriage counselor who says, listen, you've been married for 50 years. What are you doing here? Well, we were waiting for the children to die.
That's not where I was going, but yeah, you made a commitment and you need to work it out because divorced two children is like throwing them underneath an emotional bus.
Absolutely.
So you need to work it out. Again, short of, physical and verbal abuse, but that's over to the side. Um, what are your thoughts on you made the commitment? You got to find a way to work it out.
Well, there's a lot of elements in that, including religious and spiritual beliefs and the church you belong to, and the expectations of women in our society and the expectation of men in our society. And I would not encourage a couple to accept domestic violence or abuse because they have to.
I'm factoring that out. I took that out, and let's take away the religion aspect and just center on what it's doing to the children. And all right. So, and I'm not giving my opinion either way here. I'm just looking at it from what was presented to me in this conversation with a group of people, that you made a commitment and you may not get along, you might not, maybe you grew a little bit of apart, but
Mhm.
there is therapy, counseling for that. Um, do you feel that you should try and work it out to the best of your ability, and you made that commitment to the children?
Well, stuff happens. And the question is, do you rehearse old behaviors that you learned from your father, from your mother? How they yelled, how they screamed, how they threw things, how they kicked the dog. I mean, I started out as a domestic violence counselor, so it's pretty vivid. But what if we honored marriage and communication coaching, for instance? You know, um, things like domestic violence and infidelity and cheating and divorce are symptoms. They are not the cause. And if we understand, or when we understand that these are symptoms, then the natural question is, of what?
Hmm.
And if you start having a breakdown in your relationship with your spouse, for example, there's a couple. They only have about an hour overlap in the course of a day. He works 2 to 12. She works from 8 to 11. And as a family, as a marriage, they only have 1 hour together over the course of a day. It's kind of hard to speak love languages and celebrate, have quality time, acts of service when you're so busy surviving your life rather than thriving your life. And so at that point, you get to go someone like me, marriage and communication coaching, and we'll take a deep dive into the choices that you've made that distort the quality of your marriage and influence the lives of your children. Because when the old phrasing is little jugs have big ears, they hear everything we say, and then they make their conclusions about what life is and what life is not. Is not. And last week I mentioned the person who learned that she was about to be abandoned. That was her takeaway from childhood. She was going to be abandoned. And for the next 50 years, she enters relationships with one foot out the door and a bag packed, just to protect herself from being abandoned. This is, children are not abstract thinkers until about the age of 12. And even then, they're not particularly brilliant at it. So they're pretty much concrete. They see the parents yelling, screaming, their neighborhood's full of drug dealers and needles on the street. A child will naturally pay attention to that, and they'll form a neural map of their world so they can navigate it. And things like divorce throw an enormous rock into the pond of their life.
Hmm.
Children are struggling to find what makes sense in their world naturally, inevitably, and the quality of the information we provide them will inevitably shape the relationships they'll have down the road. We get to, as parents, listen. We don't react to our children. We get to create a family where nothing is obligatory. It's all by opportunity. Divorces are about 50% of first marriages are in divorce. And according to the Census Bureau, 60% of second marriages also wind up in divorce. Only now you have children. We can probably eliminate most of those percentages by simple, great communication training in schools, good modeling, good communication and relationship skills in our churches, in our families, in our communities. And children will inevitably grow up to be healthy, full functioning, self-motivated adults. Because we get to.
Because we can.
Yes, exactly. We wake up every day with can rather than cannot.
How do we connect with you? If somebody wants to learn how to adopt that get to life, learn how to change their communication within their marriage and all of that, how do we find you?
Can be found at marriageandcommunication.com, marriageandcommunication.com. You can contact me through the contact. You can enjoy these videos, the ones where you and I, they're all posted there, or all our videos we made together are there. And they can call me at 520-297-3085. I generally respond within hours because pain sells. And if it all took all that pain for you to pick up the phone to call me, I will answer.
You have the book coming out. We're just about out of time. Book is this the book that contains, you call it recipes, or it's in a recipe format?
It's in a recipe format. The very first paragraph or two is literally do this and you'll get the result. The following paragraphs are only for those who are interested in going deeper. And yes, and it seems, love languages, personality types. Just do the work, get the results. And it's called Marriage and Communication, Recipes for Life. It is literally a cookbook that you just follow the step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll know your love languages and personality types. You don't have to listen to me or me yak at you. You can do much of the stuff on your own. Which is why I created Marriage and Communication, Recipes for Life. It ought to be out there in about a month.
Excellent. Paul, great talking to you on these series. Learned a lot, stuff that I've taken to even shared with others just over the weekend. Such great information and so important if you want to navigate your life and your relationships. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here.
It's been an honor to work with you, Steve, and maybe we'll find some opportunities. Maybe have a call-in show after the book is out. For those who want to call in with questions, maybe they'll dial us up.
Would love that. Looking forward, and we'll catch up soon, okay?
Talk to you soon. Be well.
You too, Paul. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.